Hey, hi friends. Is anyone still here? You want to say hello in the chat box? Let me make sure. Let me just change those settings. You can chat with everyone. Are you guys here? Okay, yay. Hi friends. I know we're just getting started later. I've been waiting. Andy and Natalie are still traveling over in Thailand and now Singapore, and which is so fun and great. However, I was waiting. We've just been trying to connect and get me connected to. Yes, you're a trooper. You held on. Okay. So I could log in. I'm now logged in under their main account versus like joining as one of their typically I join as a panelist, right? So I'm so happy to be with you guys, and we'll still maximize our 35 minutes we have that we can be together. So welcome, welcome. Let me go ahead and set up our recording. Give me just 1 second to do that. Okay, here we go. Oh, we are recording. It just immediately started recording. There we go. Technology. Okay, hello, friend. And it looks like, all right. Are you joining us, Mr. Goddard? Maybe you're trying to log in as well. We're good. We are set up. Here we go. Okay. Yes. Better late than never, right? Truly. I'm so grateful to be here with you guys. Okay. So as we get connected here this morning, I would like for you, if you currently have any potential distractions, go ahead and log off your like other things, email or social, and let's drop in and have a power session. A lot of magic and breakthrough can happen in 35 minutes, literally. So as we get centered and connected here today, I would just invite you to ask yourself, let's look at two things, two questions. This is what I lead my own mastermind through. As I invite them, we write down two questions, and the two questions are: number one, what's new and good? What's new and good in your life, and or, wins and victories? And then secondly, what do you want to see progress today? What do you want to see progress in your life? What are you wanting to see or have? Sometimes we say, what do you want help with? But another way to frame that is, what do I want to see progress, shift, change, or grow in my life? Whether it's something up for you emotionally or in your systems, or something that is you want to see shift or transform in your business. Would love for you guys to write those key things down. And then if you want to share that, would love to hear from you. And I just love, so as we get connected here today, there's two resources that I hope that you have. One, Jeff is bringing up. Hi, Jeff. So nice to have you here. Is we're talking about this month of the month of January, we're reading this book as a community, the book Atomic Habits by James Clear, either listening to it on Audible or reading this book. I love both options, whatever speaks most to you. How many of you have read or been reading or listening to this book this month? If you'd say so in the chat box, would love to hear from you on that. So that's a great resource that, again, what we're focusing on is there's this concept in this quote that talks about we want to focus on changing our habits, right? And looking at our habits, our systems, and ideally getting into even what we call identity-based habits. Okay, good. Steph has, Marie's reading it now. Shelly says yes. Debbie says, I have read and waiting for a copy to arrive today. So is Sherry and Charlotte. I love it. Chaz, Layla, Leanne. Awesome, you guys. As I just think, even if the thing about, for me, I've mentioned this on last week, so I won't necessarily spend as much time on this, but there are a handful of books that I read or listen to every single year. Because I'm in the business for myself, as are you probably too, of mastery, where we want to see things shift. We want a mastery to them versus always about new information. And it's coming home to core true principles, right? I love one of the things my mentor, Jack Canfield, he's one of my core dear friends and mentors, has said, the principles always work if you work the principles. And so coming home to true principles, which, like, again, looking at our habits, our efforts, the things that we're being consistent in, Another phrase I like to use is that our rituals equal our results, right? Rituals equal results. So that's something that is, making, for ourselves that we're working on. Yes, the book we're talking about, some of you are asking in the chat box, is Atomic Habits by James Clear. And then if you want to, I'm going to invite you to have on deck the book that I'm going to recommend we're reading and listening to as a community for February is the book Essentialism by Greg McKeown, right? So some of you have also read or listened to that book in the past, but that's also part of my top 5 I read and listen to every single year, and a really great reframe for how we're navigating and managing time, priorities, and decisions. So again, right now we're currently in Atomic Habits. In February, we're going to be in the book Essentialism. But good morning, Jennifer. You're not late. Don't worry. We're just getting started over here. I got logged in for finally as being able to host the call. So we're just good. I don't know if we're going to be on the Facebook aspect in terms of pushing that to Facebook. That's above my pay grade, that I need that much technological training, guys. Just having a cozy warm tea here this morning. Thankfully, I'm finally starting this week to feel so much better. I got walloped, like full-blown walloped by that kind of cold bug going around. And so I just invite you guys, taking all of our products. I'm so grateful for doTERRA. Anyone else? But here's one thing that wasn't on my radar that a good friend of mine, Ashley Miller, some of you know her, and she's been on our calls here before, reminded me to take Terrazyme. How many of you take Terrazyme regularly? Guys, I swear that helped me turn the corner with this cold, is that Terrazyme. And I don't know how did I get out of taking Terrazyme? You know how there's just so many products, and I take supplements from a few different groups and companies that I feel like it's like their flagship and what they really are great at. And so for somehow Terrazyme just kind of got out of my peripheral. And I really think, Terrazyme, anything that helps you to, with digestion is so important, isn't it? Like, because I just feel like that helped my body just help process and help my gut. I take gut health products for sure. But anyway, feeling so much better, but take good care of yourselves, your immune systems, your bodies, of course, and the things you're working on. So, but welcome to a new session. How can I best serve and support you today? What do you need? What do you guys need? I mentioned there's 2 resources, right? I've mentioned Atomic Habits, and then I was mentioning Essentialism, but I'm just going to invite you guys. I know whether this is my journal, so it might feel like I'm just plugging myself, but truly there is so much magic that's happening in these pages. How many of you have a copy of this journal? This is currently $19.95, $20 on Amazon. And you just find it under either my name, Tiffany Peterson, or my creation journal. Oh, thank you. Many of you saying me, and I do. And yes, thank you so much. But really, this is truly a gift to yourself, this process that's happening here. I spoke to an incredible group yesterday of fellow coaches and speakers, aspiring coaches and speakers, and all of them had a copy of this. And we were just talking about how you visit your vision. Now, this is a beautiful creation tool. I invite you to get a copy if you don't have one. If you have one and you'd be willing to do this, would you leave me a review on Amazon? But what I invite you to do is, this is a process, these are the daily pages. The first few pages talk you through vision and gratitude and manifestation, right? Like we talk about this process. Manifesting your dreams is looking at vision. Where am I going? Who am I being? What do I want to create? And then we practice gratitude on a daily basis. And then we get into inspired action. And I'm seeing so many people now that the journal's been out for, a little over about 2.5 months now. And now more and more people, because they've been working with the process of this journal, things are starting to pop for a lot of people. And how powerful that is, that we go, ooh, okay, working and planting those seeds and being reminded of vision, being reminded of gratitude, how powerful that is for your own creation. And so I just want to make sure you have that tool if you don't. right? Again, you find it on Amazon. It's the only place that it's being sold. It's not on my website or anything like that. But it's like the combo of some of these things we're talking about, from atomic habits to vision boards, right? To gratitude journaling. It's all in one that we put this in this journal. So looking forward for you to have that and work with that. But again, we're working through atomic habits for another week. We'll be talking about that next Wednesday as we wrap up the month of January. And then we'll be moving into essentialism. Okay, so how can I best support you today? If I'm here, utilize me, right? I would love to support you. And so if you'd like to come on with me live, you can say so in the chat and I will promote you to a panelist. If not, if you just want to ask your questions, but what's going on for you? What do you want to see shift? What do you want to see that you need support with? Okay, I want time management tips. That's a really big category. So can you give me a little more guidance on that? And do you want to come on and talk live? That would be great if you're up for that, whether on audio or video. If you want to, let me know and I'll promote you to panelists. We can have you come on live. If not, we can definitely talk through that. But essentialism is going to help us with the concept of what are your essentials, right? That's a great place to start with time management. What are my essentials? Because what I love about Essentialism, the book, is he's helping us get really clear on our core priorities. Because sometimes we feel like if everything's a priority, then nothing's a priority. Yeah, I know, Debbie, I love that about you. I'm so happy you're here. Pro organizer. If you have tips you want to put in the chat box, please do so. Just make sure you change your Zoom setting to everyone, because currently that just came to me. Okay. All right. She's saying clarification about time management. She says, cooking dinner is my biggest problem. Evening routine is a problem. How many of you can relate to what she's saying, right? Is cooking dinner is my biggest problem. She puts laughy face in there too, and evening routine. And a lot of that is just deciding and making some decisions, right? Is back to systems and processes. When we want to quote, the book Atomic Habits, where he says, we do not rise to our goals. We fall to the level of our systems. So what's our current system for dinner time, right? Or our evening routine? And really looking at that as, what do I choose it to be, and getting intentional, strategic. And whether if you're going to do dinner every single night, or maybe other family members get to take a turn, that's always a powerful thing too. It's like, hey, let's split that up. But I love for you to think about, right, that vision. And then again, it's like, what's the system in place to make that happen? I know some of you are rock stars at this, right? How many of you are rock stars at, having a meal plan and dinner? If that's you, maybe you join me live and we have you come on and share some of your tips, right? Things like that. But I know lots of people, I don't necessarily live into this myself. My life maybe looks a little bit different than some of yours. I mean, we're all creating our own thing. But I know several of my friends with young children, or especially kiddos at home and things like that, they do a concept of meal planning on every single, typically they do Sundays for them. And they meal plan out for the week, right? Some of them even do it on Friday and then purchase everything over the weekend and have the next week of meals in place. And that goes, oh, yeah. Or I love, like Sherry says, I'm great 3 nights a week. And you can even, the aspect of, you can even set yourself up with that, is you can even have, of course, leftovers, right? Like it's like cook a meal Monday, leftovers Tuesday, cook a meal Wednesday, leftovers Thursday, cook a meal Friday, leftovers the next day. There's different ways that you can do that. Debbie says she can join live and talk about meals. So Debbie, give me just 1 second and I will promote you to a panelist. Give me 1 second and you can come share some insights on meal planning and or how to be more effective with that. So that should give you a prompt on your phone or computer. Yeah. Oh, I love that. Marie says, I love meal planning. I love that. Marie, any tips that you use for meal planning? Yes. And Jennifer, great question. We'll get to that too. All right, Debbie, does that show you on?
I tried to unmute, but I don't see
Okay, it
me.
says talking permitted. So Debbie, do you want to speak? It sounds like maybe you're unmuted.
I am unmuted. There I am.
Okay, Debbie, can you unmute yourself? Oh, maybe it's my computer. Yeah, I can't hear her. That's so weird. There we go. I can hear you now.
Pods out. That was the problem.
There we go. Okay, yes, if you want to share, that'd be great.
I don't know where my video is, but there's a picture of me.
There we go.
I think the first thing that I usually teach clients is to make your meal plan match your day. Most of us write a whole calendar or a week at a time, but what we fail to do is look at the day that you have planned. And so I plan my day and then I match the meal to my plan. So I start out with an inventory of different meals that I can prepare, whether it's a list or I like to do it on little like flashcard kinds of things so that I have a deck of cards. And the first problem is to make a meal that matches the day that you have. So if you know you're going to be getting home late because you've got to take the kids to soccer, then I want to plan something that I can put in ahead. So something that I can put in the Instapot or the crock pot, or maybe even something that I buy ready-made, some kind of a convenience meal. If it's a day where I'm going to be home, I work from home, have for many years. I homeschooled my kids, so I had the whole busy mom thing going. So if I was going to be home, I might pick something that took a little bit longer to prepare. So my meals, I indicate whether it's a quick meal, something I can put on the table in 15 minutes or less, or whether it's a plan ahead meal. A plan ahead meal might be something that has to bake in the oven for an hour, or I have to have a more lengthy preparation for. And so those meals I would pick on days that I was going to have time. Maybe it's on the weekend, maybe it's just on a day when I'm home doing some housekeeping or house cleaning or something like that. The other next step is to make sure you just have the ingredients. So whether you do it by a week or a month, I've shopped by the month for many, many years. I can shop in 1 hour for a month and have everything I need to make 30 plus meals. So that's a course that I teach. If anybody needs help with it, I'm at debbiecannon.com and I would love to help you.
I love it. Thank you, Debbie. Yes, get in touch with her, debbiecannon.com, and we will.
I spell Debbie funny.
Yep, it's in the chat box. Debbie is spelled Debbye. Awesome. Okay, love. Thank you. Oh, I don't want to do that. We are just okay. I unmuted you. Okay. All right, friends. When it comes to with time management, right? I teach this as a full hour class within a course. But one of the key highlights, so first and foremost, essentialism, I'd get into that. We're going to talk about that in February quite a bit. I love the topic of time management, and more than time management, I like to switch from time management to the language of priority management, is managing to priorities. Matched with then, we also focus again on that energy, is ask yourself a couple of key questions to look at. When is your natural time frame in the day when you have the most energy? When are you the most on? Would you share that? I'm just curious in the chat box. When are you the most on? Some of you are real early birds. Some of you might be midday or late morning. Some of you might be even a night owl, right? When you're the most on. But I determine, like if you're saying morning or afternoon, where would you say is your most potent time block of, say, 2 hours? And that 2-hour time block, I want you to treat like gold, and that your highest return on investment activities happen there. What I might call your RPAs, revenue producing activities. And so for me, about 10 a.m. to 2 p.m., sometimes, of course, before that, but not usually, right? You guys are the one exception in my week that I start work earlier in the day than any other time frame. Is typically my mornings. I don't start any work commitment until 10 a.m. And so for me, that I'm really clear, like 10 a.m. to about 2 p.m. is like my power zone. And therefore, that's when I'm creating content or I'm coaching. It's when I want to be the most on. I'm the most like vibrantly, energetically, naturally with it. Right. And so just knowing that for yourself is like, oh, that is not for the time frame then I want to be running errands or doing like what we're talking about, meal prepping or things like that. I want to be doing the things that require the most energy and creativity. But just like Olympic athletes, right? They're on and then they rest and recover. They're on and they rest and they recover, is really training to and knowing when your power zones are and when you're the most on. And some of you, that might be just something to pay attention to in this next week, is maybe you've never really observed that. And so part of that is deciding every day. So my coaching clients every day are living into a principle of what we call the choose to. Is how many of you relate to that you might have a long to-do list? And sometimes that to-do list, it just carries over day to day or week to week. And it can be this really long list of say, 27 things. And while it's fine to have a master list, is that you literally the night before, ideally, you can do it the day of. I mean, I want you guys to practice this today. So starting now, but ideally before you go to bed tonight, I want you to decide your top 2 priorities for tomorrow. Maybe even write them on a 3x5 card or a Post-it note, put it on your phone that reminds you, these are my top 2 priorities. And your personal one, right? You have one for personal, one for business. And personal might be your workout. I'm going to highly endorse anything that's like self-care related. Personal might also be certain things for the home, or like we were just talking, meal prep or planning, or maybe a doctor's appointment, or maybe having lunch or calling a dear friend or something like that that nourishes that relationship. And then you have one for business, like in your doTERRA business that you're nourishing, say, 5 relationships as your business priority for that day. But you choose to, or maybe you're working on social media content or publishing that new website page, whatever that looks like for you. But is choosing to help support yourself to drop into that thinking is there's 2 priorities. And those priorities happen first and foremost. And ideally, my choose to are done before noon every single day, right? There's a couple of reasons for that. One is you get that momentum going, right? Like I'm having those wins, those achievements. It's what Stephen Covey would call your big rocks are going in the jar, your core priorities. They're getting attention. Again, we want to look at priority management, not just time management. Is we want to look at what are the core priorities and are they moving the needle or are they getting done or happening? And I also think the psychology of that, right? The energy of like, ooh, I've gotten those core priorities done. Now I'm ready to move into the rest of my day and I'm going to work on some of these other items, but it gives you that win, it gives you momentum, and it helps you really get intentional about what's the core priority. Because again, if everything's a priority, then nothing is. And so making some of those decisions of what are my core essentials, my building blocks, my big things that help move the needle for me personally and in my business. And Debbie's commenting that she also has 2 for family, right? But I invite people to just choose 2, not 6, right? Is 2. Now you can have up to 6, and sometimes you are going to get 6 or 7 or 8 or 10 things done. But often the challenge of why we're sometimes feeling the most overwhelmed is we have these massive amounts of, we think we're going to do it all. We're going to choose to do all the things rather than simplify, 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 simplify. These are the core essentials that I'm focused on. And again, it doesn't mean that you're limited to only 2 things a day. It just means that you decide this is what my core essential is, one for personal, one for business. Maybe you even have core 3 where you add one like she does for family, but it's finding a process that will work and support you to help you make progress with that. And then another great time management tip, and then we'll take on another question. I saw Jennifer's question, and if there's other questions you have for me today that I can support you with, please feel free to put them in the chat box. But another time management tip that I love is this concept of time blocking, right? As I was just asking you to identify where your golden production zone is, your zone time when you're the most on, is I also love to time block actions and activities, right? So the example of, say, I'm going to create some social media content and I'll do this and I'll literally sit down and I'll map out a couple of core posts all at once. I'll maybe take an hour and write out a few key posts that either I or my assistant is going to put into quote cards or things like that. And that just helps me. Then I have content that's in the content bank, right? Same thing with podcasting. When we block time at my actual studio, or if I do them on Zoom, or we use a different platform for that as well, is ideally I'll do 2 or 3 podcasts back to back to back, right? Is if I'm in podcasting mode, then I want to stay in podcasting mode. Like today, I'm in coach mode. I meet with my client, Michael, coming up at the top of the hour. And so I've been in coach mode with y'all for this hour. I'll meet with him the top of the hour. I then am coaching a direct sales group in pet nutrition at noon, right? So Wednesday is a lot of coaching time for me. And so therefore I know I'm not working on my podcast. I'm not working on newsletters and marketing and things like that. I'm getting in coach mode. I'm supporting my body. I'm supporting my brain, my spirit. I'm doing the things that help me keep my energy and my, sharp, vibrant. And that's my focus, is that I'm time blocked into coaching. And then, tomorrow I'm into a different time block of a different intention and activity and various things like that. And time blocks could be, of course, as much time as you want them to be, but usually somewhere between 45 minutes to 2 hours, maybe even as many as 3 or 4 hours, that kind of thing. Just make sure you're including healthy snacks and ways to support your body. Most of us have about 4 core creative hours of output a day, right? And so if you're a writer or you're creating or coaching or different things, we find that, having that block of time where you're in that creation zone is really potent for your thrive and for moving the needle. But one of the ways that we're, kind of getting in our own way is what happens is we might be trying to do too many things at once, also called multitasking, which there's a book out there called Multitasking is a Myth. The only things I am ever truly multitasking is if, let's say, I'm doing my hair or makeup, I'm listening to a podcast. I'm technically multitasking, or sometimes I'm out on a walk. Sometimes my walks are just for me for silence and receiving and meditation. Sometimes I'm catching up on Marco Polos or voice texts or with clients, and sometimes I'm listening to something. Those are times where I'm, quote, multitasking. But most of the time, multitasking actually simply just slows you down. So sometimes we think we're multitasking, getting more done, but we're actually, when you're, distracting your vision and your focus, how much that actually creates challenges for you. And so thinking about that is having time blocks where it's like, I'm really in business mode right now. And then I'm really in family mode or self-care mode, or I'm going to run errands. Like for me, a lot of times I will do a time block of, say, 2 hours and go run errands. Like we've mentioned, grocery shopping, meal planning. I'll do certain things that help me create the experience of, I'll be out again doing several errands at one time, right? Grocery store, post office, dry cleaning, or whatever else might be up for me, is I'll do that in a block of time all at once. So those are some things that, I think in terms, again, time management is such a large conversation. I'm so excited to read the book and have more conversation with all of you around essentialism in February, is really looking at what are my essentials and realizing that how many things that we give so much energy and time to are non-essentials, or they just simply need a time block or a time on your schedule. Like how many of you check your email all day long, right? That's probably a major disruption. Versus, do you have a time block to check email once or twice a day? Right. And so for me, I'm checking my email not all day, every day. Right. And there are times I'll forget, my email will stay up in the backdrop and then it dings me and alerts me. And this thing is, I have time blocks when I'm really like, I need to create and be intentional. I'll check my email in the morning and I'll check my email in the late afternoon. Right. That's for me. Same thing. You can do that with text. Same thing with social media. Is sometimes we're feeling like, gosh, I just have so much to do. And why am I not getting much done? Well, most of us are walking around the planet with a smartphone, right? This little mini computer that if we're not intentional with this mini computer, it will disrupt you all day long, right? It will ding you, it will make noises, it will buzz you. You'll be looking at text, you'll get notifications from social. All of my private clients, they absolutely have to live into this assignment where they turn off all their notifications from social media. And I invite you to do the same, as you do not need to be notified every time someone likes your post on social media. Now, it's brilliant from the app perspective because it draws you back into the app, where you're then influenced by all kinds of things. But it's just being aware, is you may even want to have a time block for when you check email or social media, right? Text as well, that kind of a thing. And some of you might say, ooh, I need that more than twice a day. That's okay, but just have more intention with your tools. Let the tools work for you versus you being tethered to the tool. Does that make sense? Like, you want it to work for you. So thank you for asking that question, Mapana. I appreciate that. Okay, I'm gonna scroll back. Jennifer had a question here just a little bit ago. Debbie, again, thank you for sharing and joining us. You guys can get connected to her at her website too. Let's see. Jennifer says, I can't talk live, but I'm taking a business class online, and it's focusing mainly on brick and morning. She might mean brick and mortar. What would you say is the 3 most important first steps in beginning an online business? Probably too broad of a question. You'll need more details, but I'm integrating doTERRA into the business. So when you're growing an online business, I would say a few key things. One is, do you have a website or a landing page? Right? And the most important real estate and the most important reason to have a website, or like you're saying, an online business, is to have a place where people can give you their name and email. And ideally, you create for them what we might call an ethical bribe or a lead magnet, where you're going to give them something in exchange for their name and email, right? Like download my recipe booklet, right? Or download, name and first name and email, and they'll get your PDF worksheet on time management, right? Or your PDF worksheet on the 5 keys of self-care, and you're integrating your doTERRA oils into that. Or maybe it's 3 steps or 7 keys to whatever it might be, to wellness, to rest, to healing, to growth, to business success, to sales, whatever it is that you're creating with that. But most importantly is that you have what we call your own home court advantage, your own website. But the most important real estate on the website is an email opt-in. Your email opt-in is critical, right? Like, that's the whole point of a website, is growing your own email list. Now, there's a great book that I recommend for any of you that are growing online or a website, or like Jennifer's asking, is a book by Jeff Walker called Launch, Launch, Launch. And he's a great teacher. Many of the people in personal and professional development have been trained or coached by Jeff Walker, like Tony Robbins, Marie Forleo, Gabby Bernstein. So many of these folks that have these massive millions and millions of people in their funnels have had Jeff Walker coach them. But he's kind of the guy behind the scenes that's helping a lot of people with internet marketing and online business. But he's got some phenomenal tools in terms of that. So yes, that is a great resource. Thank you for asking. If you want to ask more about this, feel free to let me know. Okay, talk more about this. How are you integrating oils with this? Ashley's asking that. Yes. But I would create a lead magnet, right, around health and wellness, or shifting, whether you're working on digestion, you're working on immunity, you're working on sleep, you're working on stress, or you want to put that all in one, right? That you are helping people with information. And then if I was you, let's say I'd have the 5 keys for great optimal self-care, or for vivacious living. And you might talk, prioritizing your sleep, daily movement, your hydration, supplementation. And that's where I would plug in doTERRA into that, as well as calm and peace, or supporting your nervous system. And then I'm going to add to, right? So I'm going to have supplementation, and then talk about the oils. And maybe you can pick whatever oils that you want. But the reality of saying how they help support, say your nervous system would be really great. Nervous system regulation and calm and stress and the different oils you use for that, how powerful that is. The book I just mentioned is called Launch, 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 like launching a rocket, Launch by Jeff Walker. So that's a great question. Thank you for asking that. Okay. All right. Anyone else have a question they want support with? I think there's some in. Let's see. There we go. Anyone else have a question that's something that you would like support with today? We have a few more minutes as we wrap up here today. Okay, the question, let's see. Yeah, hi, my friend Chaz. Chaz sent this to host and panelists, so not all of you can see this question. Chaz, if you want to copy and paste that to everyone, just so people can see that, it's a great question. He says, in this season, I'm a slave to the 9 to 5, work 12-hour days to provide for family, love and honor your noble work for taking care of your family, my friend. I want to work a doTERRA business, but I'm not. I may have 2 hours to work on the business, but that's when I'm maybe not at my best and I'm scared to fail. Tried before. Okay. So one of the things that I just invite you again is that some of you can relate to Chaz. You have a full-time job. You have full-time life. You're like, where am I really going to fit this in? Again, the most important thing is consistency and effort and intention. And I get part of what Chaz is saying is maybe I'm not at my best. I've worked a 12-hour day and then I come home, I want to connect with my family. And then I want to connect with doTERRA and help share that is, am I really at my best? And I get you, I feel you on that. But I think that it's not going to be about perfect. It is going to be about consistency. And maybe you don't commit to this every night, but maybe one a night or 2 nights a week or one night a week and sometime on Saturday that you work on doTERRA, right? In terms of nourishing connections and following up with people and asking them how they're doing and how you can best support them, right? Again, it's not about getting this perfect loves, but the intention to, I want to be a blessing. Walking around with that intention is one of the biggest lighthouse antennas you can put to the universe. I want to be a blessing. I want to help more people, progress and move forward. And you have your oils on you or in your car, right? Because that might happen. I know at work you have to be sensitive because he works at a hospital. But just that you're prepared and that you can share, but asking the simplest of questions of someone is, how's life and how are you feeling? How are you doing? How are you and your family? How's your health and wellness? Is there anything I can do to support you? Be happy to send you some samples or help you get supported or connected to this, ways that you can help support. But if you show up to serve and you ask those questions, you're already going to be 20,000 steps ahead than most people. It's like, hey, right? Because most people wait to be asked, right? Most people are like, yeah, I'm happy to help. Most people have more of an order taker mentality. I'll take your order. I'll be happy to take your order. If you want to call me, reach out to me versus proactively. How are you thinking about you? How's life, family, and your health, your wellness? Well, there's something that I've been utilizing for the last few years that's really helped me. I'd love to share it with you if you're open to that. And we can talk further and so forth. And just asking some of those initial basic questions. Sometimes I think we overcomplicate it, right? Yeah. Chaz says, I ask those questions daily and some people don't know how to respond, right? Because you're the standout. As Wayne Dyer says, it's really crowded on the extra mile, is most people are so self-absorbed. Everyone thinks about themselves. And we're not wrong for that, right? Like you as this human and your subconscious reptilian brain is thinking about survival. You're thinking about your comfort needs. You're thinking about your emotions and what's up for you. So when another human says, hey, how are you? How can I support you? What's up for you? They're like, what? What? So even that, my friend, is a deposit. But one of these things is that I think the biggest thing for you, Chaz, that you might be helpful is to come back to your vision and your mindset. Is you're like, hey, this is what I'm building and what I'm creating. But if you're consistent with doing these things, you are going to keep seeing sales here and there and here and there and here and there pop. But you might be applying too much pressure to think, oh, I've got to really see this massive growth happen when you're like, wait, I still need to sleep, eat. I still need time to connect with my family. And I work 12 hours a day in another job. Guess what, love? Like you just like, oh, I'm going to put all this time and energy into this isn't realistic. But consistency is everything. So if Tuesday nights you spend time and take an hour even and send off 5 or 6, 7 texts, and do that again. Same thing, following up and connect with some people intentionally, proactively on, say, Saturday or something like that. And even if you're just working your business 2, 3 hours a week with that intentional, and then yes, on breaks or later in the day or things like that, as people are responding, getting back to you. But it's just one of those things, loves, that the power of that you go, oh, that's right. I might be mentally and in my mindset, I might be deflating my own balloon. Right? Is choosing into that you go, no, I'm in this business to support people and keep growing. And even if it's slow growth, it's still growth. Right? See why most people quit and give up on their New Year's resolutions already by this date, if they're setting them, or they quit and give up at any point in time, is they don't see growth fast enough. They want fast, because now we live in a world where we have high-speed internet, right? And you have Chat GPT and AI, where you can like put in, hey, create this for me, and it's instant, and fast food, and 1 hour photo. And it's like, back in the day, do you remember you had to like drop a roll of film off and wait like 4 or 5 days to get the film back? But we live in such a fast-paced universe, how fast things are moving technologically. But nature still moves at her own pace. Just because like right now I'm like, well, hey, cool, it's still January and it's winter. I'm wearing sweaters. It's cold. It's snowing. I'm ready for summer. Well, too bad, Tiff. Like summer's coming when summer comes. Does that make sense? What you can't control the season, and you can't control sales. You control how you show up. But why most people quit and abandon any goal is they don't see instantaneous, overnight, or really fast, quick success. And nature just moves at her pace. The day you plant the seed is not the day you eat the fruit. It just isn't. No matter how fast we want to put that in a microwave and move it forward, move it fast, is the day with Mother Nature. You don't go out, hey, and boss Mother Nature around. Hey, you know what? I need these carrots overnight. Can you produce that? Hey, these strawberries I've just planted yesterday or 3 days ago, overnight. Can you get them here quick? Doesn't work that way. It's not real life. And we forget that as a human race, because so many things can move so fast and so quick, which that's cool. But relationships, right? It's just like my sweetheart, celebrated my sweetheart's birthday yesterday. I love that man so much. He's such a blessing. He's so good to me all year round. So we did some really fun things to surprise him and treat him like a king, and just help him feel so celebrated, right? But he and I, the relationship we're in, we've been together a couple of years now. We didn't meet and get married in the same day. We didn't meet and have the relationship we have today, that's been being blossomed and nourished and blossomed and nourished and nourished and nourished. And sometimes tough conversations, right? Because we're human, got to work through things, and working on our stuff, and growing this trust, growing this relationship. The level of depth we have today did not come overnight. It just doesn't. You can have an instant connection with someone, right? You meet someone, you really like their vibe, like their energy, whether romantically or in business or life. It's like many of you, when I meet you in person, it's like, oh my gosh, I love their energy. And you just have this instant energy, like, ooh, I like them. But even if, like, let's say my clients, the people I'm coaching right now, private coaching, the people I'm privately coaching, we didn't meet and they're now a private client overnight. I wouldn't take them on, because similar to any long-term relationship, even if they said, oh my gosh, Tiff, I love your energy. Here's the fee that comes with that. Private coaching is a big investment. Well, guess what? Like it's like different over time, right? So even when you meet someone, you don't typically, most sales come after at least 4 interactions, right? That's what's called the law of 4 interactions. 60% of your business, for every single one of you, the bulk of your business will take place after multiple interactions. But again, if we're expecting, well, one interaction, and if they're not a sale, forget it. No, it doesn't work like that. Again, you got to see your life and your sales, your business, your relationships like a garden. You plant seeds, you water, you weed, you fertilize, you cultivate. You're working on these things. Make sense? Right? And so, Chaz, thank you for that. But again, everyone, you commit to the process. It isn't just about the outcome. That's why I'm a big fan. If you've been here more than once or more than twice, you've probably heard me talk about effort-based goals. That's why I'm such a big fan, again, of Atomic Habits you've been reading or listening to. We're going to join in on that now for this month, is because we want to be focused on the system and on the process and on the habits. Is focus on and measure your habits, right? Don't measure your outcome as your success. That's a great Robert Stevenson quote where he says, don't judge the day by the harvest you reap. Judge the day by the seeds that you plant. How many people are you nourishing this week, Chaz? And the rest of you? That's what you can control. What content will I put out this week? How many calls or texts will I make this week? How many workouts or movements will I do this week for my body, right? Or that I'm going to read or meditate or pray, right? I'm going to deposit in more people. I'm going to nourish 5 people a day on text. And so it's just one of those things, loves, that I invite you to think about this, that for yourself as a person, your own health and wellness, your business, your marriage or relationships, your friendships, is what are you nourishing and what are you growing? Right? Powerful for that. Loves, thank you for joining me today. I know we got a little bit of a late start today, but so good to still be here with you. We'll be back next Wednesday and back on, and it's the last day of January next Wednesday, and we'll wrap up this beautiful month together. Have a great rest of your day, and we will see you guys next Wednesday. Thanks, everyone. See you then.